Locker. I better not say that. Evening, people. Thanks very much for coming in. Hope you're all safe and well. And welcome to our interview with Charlie and Rox.
It's not an interview.
Oh, sorry, I know, right. Chat then. Sorry, chat. You want to do it?
No.
You want to think? Right. Welcome to our chat with Charlie and Rox from the award-winning TV show, The Haunted Hunts UK. Charlie and Rox have been with us before, along with the whole team, but we managed to snare them again for one night, even though they're kind of on vacation to the time. So it's very, very much appreciated. So thanks very much for coming out. You see the caravan behind you, but we won't say where you are. Jason, so how have you been? How's things?
Yeah, it's been all right. It's been a bit hectic at the moment, isn't it? Busy. Obviously, kids are back going to school now with a lot of work. And then obviously with the Haunted Hunt side as well, just finishing off filming season 4. So
and then the public investigations. Yeah. We've got a mad few months now with the public investigations over Halloween. And so it's going to be go.
It's kind of like one, it's like 10 layers on top of each other in it, and it's trying to take each one at a time. So season 4 is coming out in October, and we're buzzing for it because obviously you've done season 1, which I always say is kind of, it was a variety of locations. Season 2 was Chester, then you've done Codnor Castle, and then season 3. My favourite so far, no offence to your other seasons, but my favourite was Pendle. You know,
I think that's everyone's favourite so far, I think.
Hey, Kathy and Wayne, thanks for coming in. Well, we were lucky enough, we finally made it to Pendle in July for 4 days.
Yeah.
And hi, Gail, and it was amazing. It was absolutely. We went to New Church, St. Bartholomew's.
Yeah.
And there was a wait, I can't pronounce it. I'm terrible pronouncing English towns and stuff. Seriously, no offence, but I'm. The other place with the
White Collar.
No, not White Collar, where Roger Knowles is buried.
Oh,
I can't think of the name.
We look good, don't we? We can't mind the name. Anyway, we went and
it's one of the wee daft villages. I can't mind the name, but I remember going.
But the thing that got me about Pendle, obviously we've studied Pendle for a long time, is I always had this image in my head that it was a wee place. But it's no, everything's miles apart.
Yeah. It is a vast area, isn't it?
Yeah, you don't realise how big it is.
So that's one of the things I was wanting to ask you. Also, because we've not saw you since we were at Pendle. How did you manage all the travelling? Because you were everywhere, basically.
Yeah.
It was a nightmare. It was a nightmare going back up and down them bloody lanes. They are dangerous, and then trying to find the location. Some of the locations were a nightmare to find.
It was just jump in the car and off we go.
We did the same because we went to New Church and then we went to Sadler's Farm. Also, we didn't go on the property because it's private property. But the roads were like that wide, and the head. And you can't see nothing, But it was beautiful, don't get me wrong, it was beautiful. And I actually stand in New Church graveyard. That was amazing, just the feeling. No doubt, it was the same for yourself. The feeling we were actually finally there was absolutely amazing. But if you season 4 coming out, project
Invocation.
Obviously, innovation. See, every time I read that, I pronounce it as innovation. I don't know why. But it's a new concept.
Yeah.
These have tried this time. We're not going to, we should go too deep into it, but it's a new concept. So how did you come up with this new kind of idea?
It was based on whether there's a lot of theories of whether the fear factor can actually heighten paranormal activity, or is it our imaginations that heightens paranormal activity? So we thought the best way of doing it would be to go down that route of where we have no clue it's a fear, to see a fear trigger anything.
And there's lots of little experiments in each episode. There's different experiments what we try to see whether that invokes our fear or it's completely different.
So how different was it? Obviously, your first 3 seasons, you knew where you were going and what have you. How did you feel about doing this whole new kind of angle to it?
For me, it was almost an exciting one when I found out that we were getting to do something that we would, we've never been there before. We know no history, no background or nothing. It was intriguing to me. It was good because when you go into places where you've researched or where you've had this bit of knowledge about the hauntings there, it kind of can implement something into your head, and then that you kind of feed on that energy, and then that can kind of trigger, oh well, that is that because I've heard of that, so that is what's happening. But this was kind of just totally different. It was a good experiment to do.
What were you, Rox? How did you feel about it?
I didn't enjoy this one. I've enjoyed some of it. I think it's taught us all individually a lot about ourselves and what scares us and our boundaries. But I prefer to know where I'm going. I can mentally prepare myself then. I know what I can ask. And it's like I've got a plan, whereas having no plan at all and just being chucked in a room on your own, it's not my cup of tea.
So you want to... Charlie looks over the moon. He looks really, really happy. As we say in Glasgow, he looks like a monkey with a balloon, basically. He's all happy, But you see... You've got a whole different kind of attitude to what. See my words today. I've been trying to say words all day and they just keep getting messed up. What about Becky and Emma and Danny? How were they with it?
It's quite interesting to see how all of us. I think we were all different. Even spoiler alert. There's some parts of the series that you'll see a different side to me as well. That I didn't think that could trigger my fear. Mm-hmm. So it's quite interesting because a lot of people they bold me as Charlie doesn't care. He's not scared of anything. It's not thingy. But there's certain parts of this series where you'll see a different side.
You get tested, don't you?
Yeah, we do all get tested, and there's some parts where we do actually feel really sorry for some of the team members.
We won't give a spoiler, but obviously.
There's stuff that happens. Obviously, we can't say much, but there's stuff that happens that.
But no, I'm buzzing for it as well. So don't spoil it for me either.
Just put it this way: this is a totally different season. It's amazing. I can't wait for you all to see it, and you will see a different side to how the Haunted Hunts actually investigate as well.
I think it's a good idea. I mean, I'm not any expert by any means, but I obviously, I've followed you since way back in season 1. And everything you do, as I says in the post and what I say to Danny quite a few times, he's a down to earth, he's a genuine, and what you see is what you get. There's no gimmicks, no glamour or, glitz. See my words? Go on. Glitz and glamour, sorry. Yeah. I'm really on fire tonight, so and I'm really looking forward to seeing this new approach to it.
Yeah.
And see, I just can't do this tonight. I don't know what it is.
Lack of sleep, probably.
Probably. I spent the last 3 nights trying to work out what that sentence was, but we'll get to that later. Do you think this is a kind of avenue you're going to explore more?
Possibly. It's a tricky one, isn't it? Because we do, as a team, we do normally research and do stuff like that. But I think this series kind of opened our eyes to actually doing this a bit more and going into places and then looking at the facts and the history afterwards to see if anything we have captured, if we do capture anything, that it
does
kind
it correlate with anything?
Yeah, that it does. It is compelling evidence and that it has been witnessed before, but we don't know about it. So it is a quite interesting avenue to go down, and I think we probably will do a lot more of that as the years come on.
I think it's nice to try different things. It's nice to do different experiments, because if you do everything different, you can compare it then and see what works best for you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I was just say hi to Gail, Paranormal Footprints, and Andrew Jones. Thanks for coming in, folks. Gail's got a question for you. I'll pop it up if it works. There you go. How do you do with the fear? As we were out on Friday and we heard some stuff with our own ears. Gail's one of the girls in our team.
I think that's it depends, I think, on the person in general. You know, like, and it depends what activity you're getting, I think, isn't it?
See, for me, it's the atmosphere. If the atmospheres, there's different atmospheres in different buildings, and some atmospheres, like in this season, I've barely been able to talk. I've been that scared, I can't physically get my words out. So it's just different places for me.
Yeah, I think also for me, it depends. You know, I like to delve down in the darker side of hauntings and stuff like that. The things that are negative, that kind of gives me a rush and gives me a buzz. So when we do get that sense of stuff that happens, it's kind of exciting for me. And then the fear factor, I think, doesn't almost scare me if I get scared. It's not scared, it's almost like excitement. Yeah. I do get overwhelmed, and it's that rush and energy that I get, like, yes, this is really happening, and this is what I want to witness, and this is what I'm seeing. So I think as you deal with different sides of fear and hearing things, it depends on the person in general, how deceptive they are to, you know, how their feelings are, the spirits around them.
I always try to stay calm as I can do anyway.
Yeah, that's the best thing, I think, is just stay calm, and if you do witness something, then that's great.
I did do that, that's the route for it, but I know you mean, Charlie, the fear and what have you, is a kind of tingle you get if you think you've got something, you know.
And you do, me and Gail, right, let's go, pack up, let's go, I'm off. To be fair though, Gail's only been out in a few, in any investigation that I've been out on, we get wee bits, but it's nothing like what we had on Friday. So that's the first any of us have kind of witnessed that level of activity. Mm-hmm. So that's why I was like, no, I'm off.
Aye, that is true. But we'll come with right. But patient, my dear. You'll get there. Gail says thank you. She's new to it all, but still learning. Paranormal footprints. The atmosphere alone can be unnerving. You get that, you know. Do you ever get that? You walk into a place, a graveyard or a building, whatever it might be, and you're just totally unnerved right away.
Yeah, there's been places that we've been, and there's been certain parts of us as team members. Around, you know, even people that come on nights, public nights that we do, you can walk into a certain room and you get that stomach turn. Almost like, you know, what is this feeling? There. And you don't get it anywhere else in that building, but that certain room. But it could be a different room for somebody else. It's just how you pick up on things and how the atmosphere is around you.
Mm-hmm. So, see, filming season 4, how did it take longer to put together than the first 3 seasons? So obviously it says the first 3 seasons you knew where you were going and what have you. But season 4
took longer, yeah. Especially the investigations, it took longer than what we're used to, because we're used to knowing what we're going in for, doing the investigation, and then obviously concluding it. Whereas this, I think as well, where a few of us have been quite nervous as well, it has took longer to film. I do think so anyway.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And like the aspect again that you don't know what you're going in for. You've got to approach it completely different again as well. You know, the tactics, the way you call out, the way you investigate, it's completely different how you would if you went into a place that you know. So it does take time, and you've got to be patient with it.
So is any, I know I've got a list of locations that you've done that are in season 4. I'm not going to say any of them. Was any of them on your bucket list? Or whatever? Was there any ones you went to and you thought, you know?
A couple, yes, but there is a couple on there that I hadn't even heard of, to be honest, and it was quite unusual for me, and they've possibly been some of the best locations that we've been on. But yeah, it's weird because there's, like I said, we haven't been to some, but some were that we have heard of, and eventually when we got there that we've heard of them.
Well, yeah, there's, I think it's one of the earlier episodes, and that location, we had no clue about it, and it's not too far away from us as well, and that was mind-blowing. That location itself, even if nothing happened on an investigation, the history behind it and the beauty of the building, it was gorgeous.
There is one episode that you do, and I'm dying. I don't know if to ask you, but I'm dying to ask you.
No spoilers.
But, you know, and I'll just say it involves a forest. That's what I can say. I'm dying to know what you've found there, but
wait until it comes out and watch it.
I'm going to wait until it comes out. It's just one location. So
we can't give anything away.
But it was a nightmare to film. Let me just say that, a nightmare to film.
That's good enough for me, Ross. That's all I wanted to know. Was it scary or was it no? You've just answered the question. Thank you very much for that. That's just answered my question right. No problem. So the rest of the team, after you had finished filming, what have you? Was it a big sigh of relief for?
For me, yeah. I was very relieved towards the end.
It was that, like, this series is longer than any of the other series we've done. So when it came to an end, it was kind of like a relief that we'd finished all the episodes and we were, you know, able enough to get it out ready for October. And I think that was our main goal.
There was one point where we all thought there's no way we can manage to film it all and get it all sorted for them, but
we managed to do it. Yeah.
How was Emma? I know in some episodes, the first 3 seasons, she's in a wee bit of, no offence, you know, like a chicken moment. You know, how was she with the whole
Emma's
thing?
been tested extreme compared to the other seasons. I think that she has really struggled on a few of the locations, really struggled, and it's been upsetting to see as well, isn't it, at certain points, because she has.
And this is not to sound awful for me, but there's some scenes in this series that you see from Emma, and I've kind of just laughed. For me, it's bad to say because it's not nice, but for me, it's funny. And no offense, Emma, if you're watching, there's nothing bad against you, but it's been quite funny for me to see it. It's kind of like exciting to see how other people react to where we're investigating and the fear they feel. It's kind of funny for me.
So you're the kind of person that laughs when somebody falls out on the street or something?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I'm the same. I seen a wee accident about last week before, involving an old guy, and I should have stopped and asked if he was okay, but there was other people that I kept driving and I couldn't stop laughing. I know I'm going to go downstairs to the bad fire probably, but it's just, it was one of the moments that happened out of the blue, and I was like, do you know, and just I kept
I've got a dark sense of humour. Me and the friends have got a dark sense of humour, so we all kind of click in that way. So we find most things funny that some people would find very disturbing.
And you're the normal one, Rox.
I'm normal, yeah.
She keeps me in check.
Yeah.
Yes, she does. I bet she does. So,
sound familiar?
It does a wee bit, aye.
Right.
Season 4, you're filming it. How did the work and life balance work? Did you manage to,
I think with COVID's been a godsend in some ways because the kids are off school as well, and because of Charlie's health conditions, he was furloughed. So a few of the episodes, we had a babysitter straight away. The kids were already off school. He was off work, so it worked out quite well. It's only been towards, I'd say, the second half where you went back to work that it started trying to schedule everything in and make sure we could get it all finished.
Because it's no, we've said this in lives before, and we said when you we had your whole team on it. It's no people, they watch they watch the programme and the episode, but they don't realise what goes on, behind the curtain, basically.
Yeah.
The
hard work.
The amount of working. Obviously, with season 4 being a whole new different direction for your previous, first 3 seasons, I would imagine there would have been a lot more work involved behind the scenes as well, setting it up, picking the locations, whoever. Who actually picked the locations? Can you tell us that?
Well, to be
Nick
fair, Nick and Alice.
All the locations, so they went to all the locations, they picked them, and then they decided what course of action was to be taken in the location. So they give us our areas. There's a couple of episodes where we get to pick our own equipment, which was nice. But other than that, they've decided the whole thing. So we know nothing. We turn up on the night, We get given instructions, we're sent to an area, and we're done.
So the whole idea was not to
So
fall out.
No control whatsoever, which is, for me, I didn't enjoy. But
no, we just get dropped a postcode in the morning, and that's it. This is where you go in, arrive here at this time. That's it.
I imagine that would be quite exciting. Well, from my point, I think for me that would be quite exciting. Just you don't have a clue. You could be going anywhere, you know, like Aberdeen or Plymouth. You know, you don't have a clue where you're on.
Some of it was a travel, like we live in Wrexham, so you could imagine some of it was like, you know, they've been like 3-hour drives, 2-hour drives, 2.5-hour drives. So they have been, you know, quite a wide range of area that we have covered.
Because you need to take all that in effect as well. I mean, so with season 1, 2, and 3, and then you Codnor Farm, and then would you say you are always close as a team? You can see that the way he's worked in every, you know, episode you've done. Did this changes as a team in any way? We working this way?
No,
I don't think it has really. I think if anything, it's brought us closer together in the fact of we've seen each other a lot more vulnerable than what we have done in previous seasons. So I think we've learnt more about each other, and it's just taught us more about how we react, which in the long run is good, I think, personally.
You know, as a team, we work really well. We connect. You can't fault any of the team members at all. You know, we're really close in what we do. We have the same aspect in how we investigate, and we connect really well and work really well together. So I don't think any of us have changed over the season. We can see over from season 1 to season 4 how we've changed in the way we do film. You can see that clearly. Even when we've watched it back, you can see from season 1 to season 2 to Pendo how far we have come from being on camera that first time for the season 1 to how we've all come together towards season 4, how we just work so well.
I totally get that, because I mean, when our first live was last July or something, it was a total mess.
It's just terrifying when you first start doing it. You don't know what to say, where to look, and it was like there was lights, and I was like, "What the hell do I say?"
Yeah.
I think the first live, you spend most of the time looking up your nose, to be quite honest. He was on his phone, so he had his phone propped up in a table before we walked the desks and stuff. And I think most of the first live, the cameras pointed up Scott's nose.
That's what people want to hear. You know, say up my nose. But she's right. You know, I was just saying, I can't. I'd be earphones on my mobile phone, and you're just talking away, and I think I ended up walking about the house actually as well. I think I actually got up and started walking about the house.
I think you did it
because you get fidgety and you're restless. You're like, I'm going to walk about. You're still trying to talk, but then, I mean, it sounds big-headed. Don't mean it. It comes across big-headed, and apologies. But when you look back then, and even look back maybe 5-6 months later, you can see how we've changed. So I know exactly what you're talking about between season 1 and season 4. You do, because you learn as you go along. You know, and to me that's the best way to learn, just by actually doing it. Casey's can't wait for season 4. Great group of investigators. But Cher's right. I mean, there's a lot. You know, there's a lot of shows on TVs. You know, I'm not going to name any, but there's a lot of shows, and a lot of it is for drama and, you know, effects and what have you. But you guys aren't. You just. I think that's the other thing that attracted me to you in the first place, because you were laid back but professional at the same time.
I think the drama in some shows, obviously not to name, but some shows, it takes. I used to love watching certain paranormal shows, and now filming myself, I can't watch some of them because of the overhype, the over dramatics, and it's like there's no. If the evidence is amazing, it's amazing on itself. It speaks for itself. You don't need to go that whole haul and all the drama.
Yeah, I think, you know, like Roxanne says, when we can't watch shows, it's not because we don't like any of things, you know, like the paranormal's all different. Everybody has their own different ways of investigating.
Big shows we can't watch.
They have different techniques, the way they do things. But there's also that thing as when you do it yourself and you watch another one, you always question. And even though being, you know, a paranormal investigator yourselves and you know what you've witnessed, unless you're there, you kind of question everything. And I think that's the same for everybody. Well, you know, I say for myself, but for most people, if you watch something and you've done your own, you know, whether it's on YouTube, whatever, TV, whatever, you still question it. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's a group I watch on YouTube that I absolutely love. I think they're great. I think they're the next upcoming Ghost Adventures. And I
It's like a compliment for us.
no, but I watch them, and do you know what?
It's very calm.
They're American team, but they don't over exaggerate anything. They do not heighten anything, and they're just professional. And the way they investigate's just great. It's just calm, and it's genuine, and you can see that from them. It's a genuine group of lads, and they do it. The young lads. But I can see them being the next Ghost Adventures because that's the route they're going down, and they're really good. And then you watch and you can see that it's compelling evidence with the questions they ask and the responses they get. And it's not like they've made something out of nothing, if you get what I mean. So they're quite interesting. But I think it's different for everybody.
Everybody has a different sort of thing they like. Like, obviously, there's old school investigators. We get some people who come on our night to love, like, the Ouija board and things like that. But then, for me, it's more science. That's me personally, but there's no saying that people who like to do Ouija boards or seances that they're wrong. It's just a different type of investigating.
Aye, exactly. Everybody's got their own method. You know, it's like in, you know, in all forms of life, people have got certain likes and dislikes. Same as investigating. You know, Jeremy might like the Ouija board, whereas Francis, you know, likes dowsing rods, and you know what works for you. But I totally get what you're saying. You know, the American group, they're totally genuine. Hi, Lost Salisbury, thanks for coming in, and Nav as well, Katie as well. I think people prefer. I watched quite a few ghost shows, and I think people prefer to see that paranormal investigators are just normal people.
Yeah,
they go out in investigations. They do beep up, for want of a better word. You know, I've done it myself. I've done it the other night when we were out on Friday. They make, you know, mistakes. They have a laugh. Because I know some people get the wrong concept that paranormal investigators are just all weirdos, freaks, because we kind of wander about graveyards in the middle of the night and, you know, like buildings and stuff like that, you know. But I think people like to see the norm, know the glitz and the glamour and what have you. They just like to see somebody who's laid back. And it might sound daft, I'm not used to thinking of this, but I think spirit prefers that as well.
Yeah.
It helps. What do you think?
Well, that's the same way we've been, and we've investigated different places. We've used different techniques. You know, a lot of people don't like provoking. There's some places we've been so, and honest to God, we've been very calm, respectful.
3-4 hours.
We've been for hours, you know, communicating, and then we'll just make that one comment that'll be almost like provoking, and it's bang, it's there. Something happens. And I think it's different for different people, how they approach things, different way techniques. It's all different to everybody. You know, I have my own personal preference and how I investigate and how I like to investigate, and Roxanne has her own different way of investigating. Roxanne's very calm and collected. A lot of people have seen that and said that she's very calm. But then you don't
see certain things off camera as well. This is the thing where we're filming. It's an hour episode. We're there for hours, and if we could show you all the bits off camera, it would. It's ridiculous.
Going back to season 1, we done Poole Park Asylum. Now, where we were filming, there was Dan Bex and Emma Roth and Sean filming their visual, and me and Roxanne were actually stood way back at the entrance where we were in, and we could see, no word of a lie, Scott, shadows walking past, footsteps right next to us, and Roxanne was, and excuse the French, shitting herself. She was that bad. And it's nobody gets to see that because it's off camera. So there's certain parts of it, you know, we all react different to different things.
Well, that's true. I'll just stick a couple of comments up for you. I've lost it again. There's Paranormal footprints. That's the one place you would love to go.
For me, there's a lot. In the UK, I've seen a lot of things. I've heard in York, the Fleece Inn is supposed to be really good. But then if you go across the pond to America, it's the, what was it called again? Heritage Square. They've took supposedly 9 most haunted houses from America and put them into one piece of land together.
Wow.
I think it was the Osbournes that does, isn't it? What isn't it?
Yeah, the Osbournes do it. Jack and Kelly Osbourne. There's a series out where they do it, and they do the Octagon House, where the top of the room was supposed to be a ritual room, and really bad a presence in that house. And that's something I would love to do, because I just think the atmosphere just on that land itself would be amazing.
I think I'd like to go to Ireland. There's a few places in Ireland I've seen that I'd love to do.
Yeah.
We're off to Ireland next year. We're going to be Patty.
Yeah.
She's coming over to do a Game of Thrones. I can't say what.
Game of Thrones tour.
Thrones tour.
Yeah.
It's May, but we locked down and get cancelled. She's over in April, I think it is. So we're going over then. Nav, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, buddy. If I'm not, very important to include humour.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that's a really, really good point. Paranormal history, that's one of yours. Nothing will be normal, but different life will be boring. February's the same. That's true. As we were saying a few minutes ago, everybody's got their own techniques, their own way of working.
You don't have to like everybody's techniques. If you don't like it, watch something else. This is the thing. There's so many different avenues that you can watch. There's so many different tech programs. If one doesn't tickle your fancy, watch another one.
A lot of people say to us, would you work with different teams? Yes, definitely. Because
you learn a lot.
You learn a lot. They could learn off us. We can learn off them. Different people have different techniques. And some places that we may go, that other teams may go as well, they might have more information or, more concrete evidence of what happens in that location that could benefit us as well. Do you know what I mean? So I think working and being dynamic with different teams is definitely the way forward. And this is what the paranormal is about. You hear a lot of this paranormal unity, but you also hear a lot of people slandering and, making nonsense.
Quite a lot of nastiness.
Making nonsense out of nothing. And it shouldn't be like that. It should be, we all have our different ways of doing it. So what? We're different. Everybody's different. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of people call they're weird. They're freaks just because they dress different when they do paranormal. Now, I wear trackies and a hood. Loads of people call me a chav, but it doesn't excuse what I love to do and what I like to do. Do you know what I mean? We're all the same. We're all looking for the same answers, and we all ask the same questions. It's just finding that answers, and we all have different ways of dealing with it and different ways of approaching it.
Exactly. To me, it doesn't matter what you're wearing. You could be wearing khakis or a tutu. You're there to do the same thing. Not that I'd look good in a tutu. I would never try it, but you know what I mean.
I look great in a tutu, mate, and I've tried one on plenty of times.
There, I appreciate the gesture of going to tell, but I really don't. Had peas and mince and potatoes tonight, and but I know you're saying about working with other teams and learning. I mean, I criticised a few weeks ago about an investigation I'd done, but I thought, well, people want to criticise you, have at it, criticise me. I don't care. But none of us are experts in the paranormal. Hey, Andy. Andy's joining us all the way from sunny.
Aye.
Vegas, is it? America? He's in America anyway.
Is it California at the moment, isn't it, Andy?
Aye.
He's off to Vegas then after a year for 2 years, I believe.
Aye. He keeps posting pictures up his living room in the sun and all the rest of it, trying to rub.
If only we go. Listen, Andy, I'm telling you, we're taking you up on that Las Vegas trip.
Aye, he's paying. That's why you're going, but if people don't like the way you investigate, none of us are experts. We all need to start somewhere.
I think the only one negative has been called actors as well. When we've had a few comments that you're actors, it's not acting either. It's a TV series, but there's no acting involved in it.
No,
it's a lot of people tell you say you're actors and it's all scripted and you have to be there at a certain point and do this and that and jump at a certain point, what have you. Yeah, it doesn't work like that. It really doesn't work like that. 10-9, what was your first experience back in the day that you realised the paranormal is real?
For me, I think it was when we first started. Was 6 years ago now? 7 years ago. Actually, Tracy, our mother-in-law, Roxanne's mum, booked us to go to Stanley Palace in Chester for a Christmas present, and we went with the Haunted Hunts team, and we were upstairs, and it's what you call a gallery. You normally hear footsteps across, and as you go across the gallery, there's a back room, and there's a stage in the back room, and I lay on this stage, and I always remember Dan saying to us, all of us, the guests, if you ever take a picture, take 3. You got one in the beginning, one in the middle, one in the end. You can compare. So, don't know what come over me. I was lying down, so calm, so relaxed on this stage, and then somebody just went, Charlie, take a picture. And I just stood up and went bang, bang, bang. And I captured what you see as like a white streak and then almost like a full body apparition of like a woman, either in a gown or like a monk. But that for me then was like, okay. Because I was a big skeptic, I didn't believe, obviously a lot of people, they say they don't believe in you believe there's something out there, but what is it? But for me, I wasn't a believer. But the amount of things now that I think I've seen has just changed our minds completely.
Stanley Palace has completely changed our minds. We used to go there on a regular basis, and some of the activity we used to capture there, literally full-blown walking upstairs when you knew no one was there. We left a camera rolling, we left the building, and I think it was 10-15 minutes later the piano was playing. So never we left. It's just, that place was amazing.
I think it was 4:13 in the morning, wasn't it? 45 minutes it was after we left. I think I'm right. 4:13 in the morning, you hear the piano keys ding, ding, ding playing, and nobody's in the building.
So Lost Souls was asking the scariest place you've investigated. Would you say that was the scariest place?
No, believe it or not, Stanley Palace is probably one of the most calmest and nicest place you can go to investigate, to be honest. There's a lot of kids' activity there, which is good. Scariest place?
Tatton for me.
I don't know.
I don't like some of the atmosphere that happens at Tatton. There's a lot of things that are going on at the moment and we went back. Obviously, we've had 2 investigations there, and the whole house is not feeling the same as it used to. So I'm a bit nervous to see what happens with that in the next couple of months.
Bandy makes a good point there. Those who actually go out and do this will eventually believe it. Those that haven't got the guts to dismiss what we do. I would agree with that. Definitely. If you're wondering what it's like, then go out and do it.
Well, that was like me. I was a total skeptic until we started getting out. And wee things were happening. I was like, And then obviously when we went to Canongate and I saw that shadow, that was me convinced.
That was you converted to the other side, wasn't it?
Well, I ran away, but I saw the shadow and then ran away, and I've never stepped foot back in the place since. But I might go back one day. You never know.
One day. So just before we move on, season 4, when's it out? I know it's October. If you've got a date.
The 5th of October.
I'm writing that down. I keep seeing October, but I've never actually seen a date.
I'm putting that in the calendar.
I write in your hand, that's the best place. Because you got another wee appearance coming as well, Charlie, haven't you?
Yes.
Paranormal Captured, Series 2.
Yep.
I don't want to do any spoilers, but how did you go in with that,
to be fair to, I think Dan organised for me and Emma to get onto that show to give our experiences of a location that they're doing and what we experienced there and what we captured. And it was quite weird actually going back there, because that was after the first time we investigated there. It was the first time I'd been back since we investigated there, so it was kind of a weird one, and I learned new things when I went back then. It's still the eerie old place that it was back then. You still felt on edge thingy, but I can't give any spoilers away, but it is
it's a well-known place.
It's a well-known place.
I know season 4 is not out yet, but is there plans in play for a season 5? I'm just being nosy.
There's been no mention of it yet, but like I said,
ideas have been chucked around.
Yeah, we've only just finished, literally last week, filming for season 4. So, hopefully there is another one on the cards, and what we will do, that's to be decided, but hopefully, fingers crossed, there will be.
But I mean, as you know, I'm a big fan. I think half the world knows I'm a fan. I don't make any secret. But I think you've got the driving force. I think you've got the driving force and the ambition, the brains, and everything behind you to go for 5, 6. To just carry on, keep going, because you're on your 4th season and your tour special. None of it's been a flop. Every single one of them has delivered.
Yeah.
In various ways. He's never disappointed.
No. Even like in the past series where we've had debunked episodes, you know what I mean? That's a whole point of Paranormal as well. If we filmed every series and we got everything all the time, you'd start to question it. People would start to question, well, every time they investigate, they get it. So it's good that we do locations that we don't get anything from, and we can debunk
make it
stuff.
Happen. This is the thing. You could go to the most haunted place on earth and still catch nothing. It's just luck. It works on them. Nothing works on us. It's all on ever what's in that house.
And I do believe that spirits do recognize us, and the more you go there, the more you get.
They know your energy, yeah.
And I do believe that, because we've been to certain places where we've had nothing, but yeah, you've seen other teams do it that go there week in, week out, and they get it all the time. Do you know what I mean? They know how to trigger certain things.
It's funny you say that, Charlie, because that was said to me earlier on, connected to the investigation we had on Friday. Andy makes a good point here. Andy, season 5 should be collabs with other teams. That's
that'd be interesting. That would be interesting.
That is I know what you mean. You go to the most haunted place. We've done Greyfriars many times and we've had nothing. But it's Greyfriars, everybody expects, headstones flying about and everything. But
I think the worst we've had
absolutely nothing.
Is the camera batteries drained.
The camera, but that's the biggest sign we've had is a camera batteries drained, and that was it. And that was in Greyfriars. So usually you go to these places sometimes.
Not guaranteed anything.
If the spirits don't want to chat with you, then they won't.
No.
Margaret, see, have you ever had any comebacks from doing spirit stuff?
Yeah. I think when we first started out, like Stanley Palace was one. Everybody's heard of Grace, our haunted doll. We actually took her to Stanley Palace before she made her residence in Tatton.
Before we knew what was it,
and before we even knew, what was going on with her. It kind of shook Stanley Palace house up, and we went home and we heard things in our house a couple of days later, and like, what's that, blah, blah, blah. And I was actually working nights, and Roxanne was on the toilet, and she heard a little girl say, "Mummy." So she just pushed it off and thought that it was our girls talking in their sleep. And then the next night I was in work, and I was doing nights, and the kids were in her mum's. And Roxanne was there, and she heard a little girl say, "Ha, do you want to play a game?" And
which I didn't want to get off the toilet. It was like 4 o'clock in the morning. I thought, do I stay in here until it gets light, or do I go back to bed? And I thought, I can't stay on the toilet for 4 hours.
But we ran an EVP session and left the camera rolling in the house, and you could hear the little girl humming, and I think it was a girl's toys, was it?
Some toys
in the bedroom moving. You could hear moving. So we smudged the house from top to bottom. Obviously told them that they did not belong there, and that you did was to go back from where they went. And then when we went back to Stanley Palace a few weeks later, we actually had the girl come through, and Roxanne asked the question, "Did you leave? Did you follow me?" And she went, "Yes." And she said, "How long did you leave?" And she went, "For a while." So that was quite interesting.
It was as if she answered the question perfectly. There was no doubt about it, was there?
No. And I think the second part was when we done Poole Park Asylum, wasn't it? When we
I wouldn't say anything followed us on. I
don't think it followed us at home. It affected me, I think, quite bad, because we were leaving. As we were leaving, I think Emma was just in front of me, and I was saying, "Get out, Emma, get out." And she went, "Why, Charlie?" I went, "There's a woman following me. There's a woman coming behind me." And it was an old woman, like short frilly hair, like, a long gown, white gown. And I got in the car, and no joke, you asked Roxanne, I swerved the car. I thought I seen her sitting in the back of the car with us. And a few weeks later, we went to town, and I'm on the motorway, and I thought I seen it in the back of the car again. And I swerved on the motorway.
I think some locations, negative locations, can put things in your mind. Not that something's followed you home necessarily, but the energy in that building affected you, and it's impacted you. So it impacts what you see and how you feel.
I think I don't know if you agree with us. Or Gail's got a big comment. I'll put it up in a wee second. But as you say, you know, it can have an effect on you. It can affect you so many ways. We saw that with Danny at Sadler's Farm.
Yeah.
In season 3. You know, I'm not going to give any detail with respect to Danny. Obviously, anybody's watched it will know what we mean. So, and Danny's usually no really affected. He's kind of get up and go kind of thing. But Sadler's Farm had quite a bad effect on him. Thankfully, you know, he came out. He was okay. But would you say that's a prime example of it?
Yeah, definitely. But I also think if you go to Tatton the Greystall and what we captured at Sadler's Farm, it was very familiar. It was almost like the same, because whenever I heard that voice come through at Sadler's Farm, I was like, fuck, you know, as this thing followed Dan, do you know what I mean? Is it Grace? Is it her? Is it her energy? That was my first initial thought. And then seeing Dan break down and the effect it had on it, first entered my mind was this the impact that he'd been getting so much abuse from the Greystall at Tatton Park? Was this now having an effect on his head? And when he's heard that and it's come through and it was tagged in him again, was he being tagged in? And that was my initial thought on what was going on with him. And that had impacted him so much and so badly that's when I knew that this doll or whatever was having an effect on him.
See, people just don't actually realise it. Gail's made a comment. He's might disappear from the screen because it's quite a big comment, so I'm not sure how high up the screen is going to go.
It's not nice to be abused by spirits, so I get abuse every time I'm out.
I don't know.
I get called. We done an investigation 2 weekends ago.
Aye.
And I get called
I'm not even going to repeat it, but it was very, very rude. You know what I mean? That's all. 3 words, and only one of the words was nice. The first word was two. That was the only word that was nice. That's all I'm going to say. I'll stick Gail's comment. As I say, you might disappear. I have put my comments up and our guests have vanished. But I'll be there, you know. You see the top of their heads.
I was about to go investigate, didn't know where to start. I didn't believe as much, but then I met Scott and Sarah and my views changed. As when you watch it on your telly, you're like, surely it's not that bad, etc. But when you're actually there doing the investigations and you can see it's stuff happening, that's unexplainable. It's a whole different atmosphere.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. Gail just recently joined us. I'm trying through some of these comments and questions for you. Andy's got a question with Grace.
Yeah, I think that is true. What Andy said there. Grace at the moment, the Tatton's completely changed. Anybody who's been there on a public night will tell you when they've been regulars that the house is changed completely, and it's almost like, for instance, we were there a couple of weeks ago and we were doing the Estes method, and somebody asked the question, I have the power, and her voice come through and went, no, I have all the power.
But on a completely separate device than we usually use.
Yeah.
Which is the first time it's ever happened.
Yeah. And it's I don't know, I think she just feeds off Dan. You know, a lot of people have this theory of different energy, like is it energy in the house or is it actually something attached to it? And I can honestly say, no, I think something is definitely attached to her. She has completely changed that house. She has had a great impact on Dan completely, hasn't she? You know, she's very
impacted the whole team. It is in the fact of we've all had separate discussions, we've all got different opinions, and the atmosphere around her when things get nasty, it changes people's personalities. It changes how you think.
You know, like people called out to her when we were there a couple of weeks ago, nothing. So whenever Dan opened his voice, it was a clear response from her, back again.
But sarcastic.
I mean, it was like the intelligence from her that's just mind-blowing.
This is what people don't realise. I mean, a lot of people just think it's, it's just ghosts and stuff, but there's a lot more to it than just, finding a spirit, finding a ghost.
We did not believe at all. You can ask any of the team. We didn't believe that you could have attachments.
The whole point with Grace was to prove that there was nothing attached to it at first.
Yeah.
We were determined to prove, it's a few weird things have happened, but it's just coincidence. Whereas it's been the opposite. The more and more we've investigated her, we've realised what she actually is.
Just one question, and then we'll ask about the investigation we've done. That's one great. Gail was talking about. I keep calling Gail Claire for some reason, don't I? Don't know why. As we were saying a wee while ago about investigating and people criticise each other, but would you say there's a right and wrong way to investigate, or would you say there isn't?
No, there's no right way or wrong way. I think everyone's different, and I think people, like, you can get somebody who comes on one of our nights who hears a noise and then is convinced it's paranormal, and then you can get other people who get a voice coming through that believes the voice but don't believe the bang. Everybody believes. It's all personal. The whole paranormal thing is personal. You could be in a group of 30 people and have a personal experience, and the rest of the room won't have that same experience. So I think it's just individually. It's completely individual.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you that before we moved on. So, as you know, we were out on Friday night.
Yeah.
And we were at a place called Caldwell House. It's in East Renfrewshire. Sits in Middle It's part of a 280-acre estate. The house was originally built between 1770 and 1773. It was occupied by the Muir family for about 140 years. They left round about 1903. 1927, I was taken up by a local health authority who, again, I hate using this word, but they turned it into a mental asylum for children. In the 1990s, there was 2 fires. The second fire basically destroyed the building inside. They had to come in and rip quite a big chunk of it out and try and save what they could. So it stands derelict just now, surrounded by other buildings that are all in the same condition. But we went there on Friday night and the signal was absolutely terrible. So we ended up recording it, the investigation, because we felt that was the only way to do it. And I sent you the recording. What's your thoughts on that recording? Because we're still.
It is a really interesting catch, to be honest, because you do hear, obviously, yourselves are talking amongst yourselves, and you're investigating, you're calling out, but there's something that just comes over and you hear it. It's almost like close to the camera, and it's a whisper, and it's like 4-syllable words. I couldn't quite work it out. When you sent to me, all I heard, I think it was like a want, like as if it wanted something, or do you want something? It was along them lines that I heard, but I couldn't make it fully out. But you can clearly hear, like, I know you had the necrophonic app on, but it's when that app stops and then something else comes over it, and it's a full sentence. And it's unusual because it's a break in it. It's like bang, 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 bang. And you've got something, and because I was listening to it you listened to about 20, 30 minutes. About 20, 30 minutes, I was listening to it, even after I messaged you back saying I think it's just to try and get it. And I was even thinking about putting it on the speaker to put it even louder in the house to thingy. But even like the mother-in-law said, show Leon, because my brother-in-law, Roxanne's brother, he's very good at hearing. We give him EVPs at hear, and he'll instantly tell you what it is because he can hear it. Whereas my hearing's quite bad. I've got bad hearing. But there was definitely something on there and interesting that you had there, because I'm not sure, before you just captured that as well, you can hear a couple of seconds before almost like 2 words as well in the same type of voice.
Yeah.
I'm sure I heard a group of 2 ladies, I think, on there with you said, did you just hear that? Just as you were talking, Scott. So I think there's something else picked up just before, and then after they say, did you hear that? And somebody said yes. You said something again, and then that's when that come through again, yeah. 4 words. So I think there's something just beforehand as well that maybe needs to be had a look at and probably put on some software to try and boost it and see whether you can actually hear what it is it says.
So the first word, I know about your comment, the first word we interpreted, we could be wrong, is Decan, Decan, which turns out to be to do with astrology, but it's also to do, what was it?
Something to do with demonology.
Demonology. I might be wrong, but our college says it could be deacon, as in a church official, which, you know, possibly. We sat up to 2 in the morning and we try to run it through filters and bits, but we cannot make out what this lady is saying. But
it is definitely a woman's voice. Definitely, you can tell by the soft. It's not like an aggressive woman either. It's like a soft,
very softly spoken, isn't it?
Softly spoken.
Yeah. Our American team, our American team, Jennifer, we did her on Saturday, and before the live we were talking, she says she'd listen to it and she prefers audio to video. So she listens to all stuff and she says you've got no idea how much you have captured on that you don't even realise, because you don't react to any of it.
No, when you're talking amongst yourselves as well, sometimes you miss things and you think, bloody hell, if I would have been quiet, I could have heard it. And it's just one of those things.
See, when we were there, the building there was strange noises coming from all directions. See, we kept hearing intakes of breath, but it was none of us. But we couldn't pinpoint where it was coming from because the building's, it's a hollow shell, basically. And when Scott and the team were in the basement and I was still on the main floor, and I could hear them talking, and I was at one side and they were down a flight of stairs at the other end, and I could hear them clear as day. So it's really hard to work out
where noise is coming from.
Noise is coming from.
And the thing is, it's a 280 acre estate. And I've no idea what size an acre is. You know, I'll probably show myself to be thick, but 200. It's got to be pretty big.
Yeah.
You get that, and then the nearest village is about 6 miles away. You know, so that cuts out people or into. There's only one way into this place and one way out, and it's by a locked gate.
There's a cottage just as you go into the estate, but that even itself is a good spot.
That's a good mile down the way we were.
And then there's another big
house.
Get
any noise confliction.
No. I love buildings like that when you've got no noise conflict.
There was absolutely nothing within. Friday, after I spoke to Jennifer, I put the headphones on, and I must have late about 3 in the morning. You know, my eyes were going like that, and I started to pick up on other things that I hadn't heard.
Yeah.
You know, like 6 minutes in, there's what I can only do. I thought it sounded like some kind of trolley, something getting pushed along a corridor. And then there was a slight ping at the end of it, very, very slight. And it's like, you know, the old lifts you used to get with the lift would ping when it hit the floor.
Yeah.
You know, that's what it sounded like, and we were standing that's where we were right next to the old bus shaft.
Could be residual, couldn't it? It could be this, everything's going on around you and you don't realise.
Yep.
But the really strange thing was we had a camera that was sitting in the corner recording, and the camera turned off at exactly 6.5 minutes. Just before all the activity really ramped up, the camera turned off. And it wasn't we checked the battery the next day, and obviously when I went to review the footage, and the battery still had like 3/4 full, and it just completely turned off. The K2 meter kept turning off as well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to turn off about 10-20 occasions where something's happened and it's like, oh my god, it's so frustrating.
It is because as we set the camera up, I press record and we just let it run. We just forgot about it. And as yesterday when I went to check the footage, and Sarah's like, well, did you press record? I said, well, I press record because you've got 6.5 minutes. Yeah. And then it just stops it. It might sound a silly question, but it's been in my head all day. And do you think it's possible that if a spirit doesn't want to be seen or maybe picked up, that it can
turn things off? Yeah,
possibly. It could be. Yeah,
I personally think it does, because we were at a location a couple of weeks ago and we were having quite a bit of activity. So whenever we hit the camera, it went off. Was it 2 minutes later?
Yeah, but we had it in Pendle as well. Yeah. Sadler's Farm. Emma and Dan's obviously their visual that they were doing. They hit record, and then next minute, after a couple of minutes, it was off, and they had to use the SLS camera footage, the audio off that was recording, because the camera had been switched off. And even though it was all set up and press record on it, it'd been switched off.
It's the same with batteries. You've had stuff that's not worked in a location, so if we've gone back home, it's perfect.
We had that with we've got a wee tiny silver voice recorder, and there's been a few times we've been out and it's just refused point blank to work. The minute you come home, it's button.
I've had that with our EVP recorder, and I've gone out, I've charged it, made sure I've charged it before we've gone out. So never I've got there, bang, it's dead, and I'm like, what? I get home and it's full battery.
See, with a laser pen, our laser pen plays up some electronics sometimes when we're out. Can work fine in the house. You change the batteries when you get to the location. 2 minutes later, it's off. Like one night we went through a full packet of batteries on the laser pen alone.
But we did. It was. I mean, we've been out the last 3 weeks in a row with pretty good results, but it was just, it was a combination of things on Friday that people might say, okay, it's just bad luck, because our signal kept dropping out and then the camera turned off, and the meter kept going off and what have you. I don't believe it's just coincidence that so many things can happen at the same time in the same place. Go wrong, basically turn off or whatever. I mean, the place that we're in, I've put it to a few people, a few other teams, and I've had a wee bit of feedback for them. And it's amazing, as we're saying earlier on, about how people hear or see different things at the same time. We've been told the words Abbey, Fools came through. I heard that myself, the word Fool came through. There's also meant to be the name Rebecca. And someone said things that the woman, the lady is saying, don't tell them anything.
Some people have got really good hearing. Some people have got. Everybody hears different words because we've had words come through devices, and one person thinks one thing, one person thinks another, and people hear different things sometimes. Unfortunately,
but it was just one of these, because usually the thing is, I heard the whisper, the 4 words, and Rhys Gale's husband, he heard it, but none of the girls heard it. They were saying, obviously you hear Sarah's choice language in it, right after I hear the whisper.
No, but to be fair, that's because I was sitting at the bottom step, right, and obviously the lift shaft, I was sitting here, and the lift shaft was like right next to me, and I heard a really, really loud intake of breath, and it sounded like it was either right behind me or right next to me. So that's why I say the choice words.
But that's the weird thing. It's hard to describe, because I heard the woman's whisper, Rhys heard it, and so I was reacting to that, but the exact same time the girls were reacting to the intake of breath. So it might sound dark, but that suggests to me there was 2 separate things happening at the same time.
Well, yeah, I think where we were at a location before was at Weir Mill. Something was happening in one area that the boys were reacting to, and then me and Bex screamed at something else that was reacting the other side. So it can happen at the same time, just in different areas.
So that is possible then?
Yeah.
Right, because I've got, it's a place, I mean, we've never been there before, and we've been in quite a few places, but for some reason, this place is stuck in my head. We're going back tomorrow during the day.
Good luck.
Well, the girls are adamant they don't want to get back at night, which is understandable. The girls, after that, they heard the breath.
I think it's just the whole atmosphere of the place, the fact that it's a really old building, and then when it's dark, you literally can't see 2 feet in front of you in there.
It's pitch black, and it's quite, when it's totally dark, it can be quite dangerous. So the girls only want to get back at night time, which I totally respect. I'll not ask any of them. I'll be back at night time.
Yeah, sounds like my type of place, huh?
I'll tell you, buddy, it's absolutely amazing. Very dangerous to a certain point.
We know now, after speaking to the landowner, we're not to walk, and we're safe enough to walk, and stuff like that. So structurally and stuff, we know where we can't go.
The do's and don'ts. The people that own the land, well, they were really, really, really nice. The guy came up and says, "Well, I'll show you this. I'll show you that. Don't stand there. Be careful here. Take as long as you want." basically the gate's locked, but we'll come out and unlock it. So, I mean, we're landing our feet with that, you know, that the owners are willing to let us in. And as I say, it's really stuck in my head. And I feel there's a lot more to be uncovered there.
Yeah. You do find that, though, when we go back to different locations, like we were always back at Tatton, trying to find answers. But, you know, when we used to go to different places, I think the more you go there, the more you get.
It's like a jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah, and it's almost like the spirits, if you like, or entities that are there, it's almost like they kind of get used to you coming back. And that's not to say some of them don't get annoyed that you're coming back all the time, but then some of them do genuinely, like, it's almost like it's nice for them to see somebody different all the time. Do you know what I mean? To see some new people come in, you know, for them getting used to you, and that's where they start to open up, I think, and start to give you more.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how we were saying earlier on with the spirits get to know you. I was talking to a gentleman tonight, and he was saying he went back to the same location 30 times.
Yeah.
And the more he went back, the more results he got.
Yeah.
And it's going to sound a silly comparison, but I'm kind of comparing this place to, I might pronounce it as Tatton Hall. To Tatton Hall.
Yeah, Tatton Hall, yeah. Because
it seems that place has got so much to offer.
Yeah.
You know, time and time again. And I think this, you know, this estate, this house could not be as big as that, but I think it's got a lot of things underlying there that need to maybe be investigated and, you know.
I think
but you don't know, like, you know, Tatton is a really good location, but there is bound to be other places out there that nobody knows, that you come across, like yourself, Scott, where you're going now. That could be bigger, if not just as more haunted. You know, nobody can say that Tatton or that any other location is the most haunted place in Britain or thingy. Yes, it is haunted, and yes, it is amazing, the stuff we get there. But in other locations we can get stuff from there that we think, oh my God, you know.
You can only compare it to what you've been to.
Yeah.
There's always more places to explore.
You can always think, this is amazing, this new location I've been to. You know, nobody can say that this place, you see a lot of it these days where everybody's going, this place is more haunted than this place is more haunted. It's all down to personal preference of your experiences of what you've had there. You know, like there's a lot of 30 East Drive. A lot of people love that place. There's a massive hype around it that, you know, it's very haunted and thingy. But yeah, there's been some people who have been there and have had nothing. And that's not to say that there's nothing there, but that just could be on a night that nothing happened. Do you know what I mean? It's just how different people see things and how their preferences to how they investigate and what they capture.
Exactly.
I think with Caldwell as well, though, is the fact that the history of the place is very vague. I've spent the last couple of days extensively researching it, and the history is really vague. Even when it was a house, it tells you obviously the basics, when it was built, who lived there, what they were connected to, but other than that, there's not much. Same when it turned into the Children's Hospital, there's not much on it.
No, because we found out that it closed in 1987 and the records are actually in the Mitchell Library in Glasgow, but they're sealed for 75 years.
Bloody hell.
So you can't get near them for 75. So 1987 plus 75, I'm only going to count that, you know, 2060, I don't know.
Beyond our time anyway.
There's still a few years to go on the clock before the records are opened up. I think it's just my theory on it is that maybe it's the 75 years because they might be looking at it, well, it was a children's hospital, so anybody that was resident there could still, you know, whereas 75 years is maybe an average time limit for them to, you know, pass on. Maybe.
Yeah.
That's the only kind of thing. So unfortunately, the history is quite vague to it. We can't really dig up a lot. Me and Sarah thought, because Gail was with us that night.
Oh, it does. That's what I think it says. Do you want to play something? But I can't make out the last word.
See, I hear. That's what I said. I hear when I heard it was want. I heard want in it. It was almost like I want, or do you want, or do you know, somewhere along them lines.
But I'm determined to find out where I've listened to. I've lost count the amount of times I've listened to it since, you know, earlier.
Yeah, one occasion where you listen to it, or somebody will listen to it, and then it'll be like, it'll click.
Like, this is what I always say when people say to me, Charlie, what's your best piece of equipment and that you like to use? Yes, using portals and the Intravox is great. We get to hear the voices out loud. But I always say, and always will do, go back to an EVP. You can never, ever fault an EVP. You know, a lot of people say you can't hear it with your own ears, so it's not real. But no, that's what they're there for. They pick up on the sound that we do not hear. And when you ask a question, you get a response to that, and you don't hear it, but you review it back and you get it. That's why I always say, always take an EVP with you and do some recordings.
That's the first EVP we've got in it.
The other thing that was weird that I found, now, as everybody knows, the listens to us, I'm no tech expert by any chance.
Nobody is, Scott.
Oh no, I'm seriously, I'm like the dunderhead, as we say in Glasgow, the tech world. But with the EMF meter sitting next to me, I was sitting in the stair, EMF, and I'd been sitting there for about 10 minutes with this thing, and it hadn't budged. And then just before we heard all the girls heard the gasping, I heard the voice, it went to red. So I moved it over a wee bit, and it went to red again. And I thought, well, I've been sitting here for about 10 or so minutes, so why is it no went off before then?
Exactly.
Why? You know, it just suddenly went to red twice in a row, and then we heard the various, you know, noises. Yeah. Kathy Adams saying she knows her TMNT's drive and you get a flashing bulb back out here in my house. So it just says, not everybody gets stuff. Some do, some don't. Kathy wants to come out. We can arrange that, Kathy. No, that's not a problem.
What's Andy saying? Have you had it when you listen to the recording 10 times and hear nothing and suddenly words appear to be heard? Well, that's like that recording for Friday. Yeah. The more we listen to it, the more you think there's nothing. And then the 10th, 11th, 12th time you listen to it, there's another word.
Well, it was like that.
Sound.
It was like that, but it's 6 minutes in. I mean, I've listened to the recording dozens of times since Friday, but it was just last night. I was lying with the headphones on and I suddenly heard this sound like a hospital bed getting pushed, something getting pulled, or something. And I'd listened to it so many times, and then I just, you know, what was that? And I played it back. I knew when I play it back, I can hear it quite clearly. But we're going to see, we'll get back tomorrow, and we're definitely going to dig into it because we feel that there's a lot more to come. And I'm looking forward. I've got a bee in my bonnet now, as they say. I don't know if you've ever heard that expression.
Let me know how you get on.
I'm excited about digging in deeper, but then at the same time, I'm kind of a bit scared at the same time.
Well, you can do the night time, you know.
No, it's just because we don't obviously know, like much history and stuff, so I'm kind of a bit scared of what we're going to uncover, so to speak.
But you see, that's what season 4's about. You know, they don't know the history, they just go and like, do you know? But that can make it more exciting because you don't know what you're going to get.
But it can also make it nerve-wracking.
I mean, as Charlie says, he gets a buzz for that.
Whereas I don't. I like
where
to.
Rox is totally different.
And with Rox, I like to know where I'm going, so I know the history, so I know what questions to ask.
Yeah.
Place and stuff like that. Otherwise, you're just thinking, well, you ask a question, is it relevant? Is it going to be completely rubbish?
It's like, I mean, there's a basement in this place and there's a big long corridor, and I walked down it the other night, just myself, pitch black, and can't see a thing. And it's not that I'm scared, but you get a kind of buzz because you don't know what's at the other end of that tunnel.
Yeah.
You know,
or if something's going to jump out one of the wee
rooms. There's doors, all the doorways, either side walking down. But you don't know what's going to come out of the darkness because you literally cannot see a thing. And that's what I
love about it. A lot of people say to me, like, you know, Charlie, why'd you do that? If something come out of a doorway and grabbed me and dragged me down the hall or pulled me, that for me would be validation that the paranormal is 100% real.
Oh no, I'm looking back. Never. I would quit on the spot.
But you see, that's the thing. You know,
You
that's
see
not,
me being dragged up a wall laughing, come on, come and get
Saying
me.
that, when we first started, I always said if I heard certain things, if I've seen certain things, I'd quit. And I've heard certain things, and I've seen certain things, and I still haven't quit.
I've seen, well, I don't, I've been asked quite a bit, have you ever seen a ghost? So, well, I don't know. Because what does a ghost actually look like?
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
there's that many conceptions, you know, the white sheet, the see-through apparition. I saw it. I mean, I've read numerous accounts of people walking down the street and seeing somebody that died 3 months ago.
Yeah.
Has last his life. Excuse it, pardon the pun. So, how do we know if we've actually seen a ghost or not? You know,
It's different people. Innit? We always say, like, you know, if we see something or a guest sees something and nobody else has seen it, maybe they've seen something, maybe they haven't, you can question it. But if there's a group of you and 4 or 5, 6, whatever, 10 of you in that room see that shadow or see that figure or the mist, whatever it could be in the same time,
That's harder to do.
then that's harder to debunk. You've got to question that then. Well, have we all just witnessed the same thing? We've been in a few places, you know, where we've seen shadows, you know, and full on, and I mean full on shadows. You can see the legs, between the legs, the torso, the head, the arms. You've seen that. We've been in Tatton, and I've pulled, you know, there's a room in Tatton called the spinning room that a lot of people refer to as a portal room, that, you know, the doorway's a portal. And I've been standing there and I've been goading and provoking. And Roxanne and about 5 or 6 guests behind me saw this big black 7-foot odd shadow walk through the door and walk straight through me. Now, I didn't see it, but they did, and they were petrified. Then there's another part in Tatton where we walked down from the main chamber. I heard something in the corridor, so I walked off down on my own, and all I saw was this big, and I mean not a hand size, I mean probably about 10 times the size of my hand, with claw hands on it, and about 4 guests behind me seen it at the same time and screamed. Do you know what I mean? So it depends. Like, you know, if you've seen it, you can't say to somebody that they've seen something, it's not real.
And you can't
say that because, you know, that's what they've seen, that's what they've witnessed, that's fair enough. But if you do have a group of people, 3 of you, 2 of you at the same time, whatever, and see something, then you've got to say, well, you know, actually, we have just witnessed something. You know, it could be anything.
Can't explain it.
it's harder to debunk if it's a group of people doing the same thing at the same time. It's the same as the K2 meter. I mean, we you know, we're close to Mark Edgerton, and he'd always said if you get, he's no big in gadgets, but he says a K2 meter, obviously we can play tricks if there's a phone nearby, whatever. He says, but the basic way to judge it is if you get intelligent responses for anything between 30 and 40 seconds, then you know it's not a phone or something that's causing it.
If your phone's on flight mode or your phone's turned off and there's no electrical equipment, there's no reason why that K2 meter should go off.
We always say that to our guests that come on the nights, make sure your phone's on flight mode. Because if your phone's on flight mode, anybody can try and connect to the internet. Your phone tries to connect to the internet, it'll set the EMF off. So when everybody puts it on a flight mode, we've been now places that we've had, like Tatton, for instance, or Penny Lan, they're active, but we haven't had no K2 responses in months, in a year.
It all varies.
It all varies, but yeah, we used to get K2 all the time. So I think if you're asking that certain question, you get a response from it. Yes. And then what we always like to try and do is, if we get a response and it's through the K2, we will then say and ask the same question again, please, can you confirm this, and set that off again. And then if we get it again, we'll ask the same question for the 3rd time. And if it goes off again, then we can say, right, hang about, this is intelligent response. Something's reacting to us.
I actually got into trouble this morning for flight. We talked about flight mode. We work with a team, GSI, they're not. They're on Paraflights. We've been down to film with them in October. And I sent the lead investigator, one of the lead investigators, the footage. And he says, and so we were on the phone this morning. And he says, can I ask you one question? He was looking at the K2 footage as well. He says, did you have your phone in flight mode? And I says, no. And he says, well, you're a beep, beep, beep. He says, you've got brilliant footage there of the K2 going off. It goes up to yellow when you ask questions. But because your phone wasn't in flight mode, somebody could debunk that.
Yeah. This is the problem. This is why we always make sure with all the guests they've got it on, because then we've had it before where we've been in locations and people have said to us, yeah, there's somebody hiding in the dark there, so we've shone a light. and there's nothing in the dark.
That
And we've
was a
had it
couple
where
of weeks
people
ago,
have
wasn't
said, "Oh, there's somebody hiding underneath your table," and I've said, if you feel free to, you can go sit underneath that table for the full investigation. It's people
Yeah,
have different preferences.
that was time, wasn't it? We put a REM pod down the 1950s corridor where the Grace dolls kept in the room opposite to it, and the REM pod was going off on response. We were asking questions, it was going off, and we had a guy that was a skeptic, and his wife said, "My husband's a skeptic. Would you mind putting a torch on so we could see?" So I shone a torch down the hallway, and then you could see nobody was there. And while the torch was on, I went, "Now, can you please touch that REM pod again?" So never I finished my sentence, bang, it went off.
He was
He's like, "I can't believe that." He said, I really can't question it. He said, "There's nobody there." And I got in to test the equipment. Yeah, look at it, you hold it, touch it to show that it's a touch activated object, that you have to touch it for it to go off. So you put it down. And he was like, he said, "I don't believe in paranormal." He said, "But that I can't explain."
I see that's what sort of just getting that thing that people can't explain. There's one last question. I know he's on holiday, so I'm not going to any. Just one last question. I was actually Sarah that found these experiments with that investigation Friday night. We decided to go. I know I'm not saying anything against gadgets, but a lot of people use different gadgets. But we decided to go old school, So what? I'll let Sarah tell you because that's what we do most of the yakking.
We got a compass.
Yep.
Randomly come up with the idea to get a compass, and we tie fabric to a clothesline as well. So. And
I can't. The thinking behind the compass was that if a spirit went near it, the needle would move. Maybe no spin round and round, but move.
I think I've seen that before. On Amazon Prime, I think we watched a series. What was it called? It was a good series actually. They'd done about 6 episodes, and I'm sure one of them used a compass in a room, but they lay it flat on the floor, and it was pointing north. And then all of a sudden, they were asking questions, and this dial started to move. And then once they finished, it went back to north, and then they'd ask again, it'd move again.
Yeah, that's what we were aiming for. But obviously, the compass never worked, and then Sarah came up with the idea. It sounds nuts. It was a bit of clothesline. I cut up an old T-shirt and I tied the material to the clothesline, and we hung it up. The whole there wasn't any breeze or draft when we hung it up. The whole idea was if a spirit went near it or maybe walk past it, the material would move.
Yeah.
And we put a candle.
We've had that in Stanley Palace again in the back in the corridor.
Yeah,
we've tried to debunk it. We've tried to debunk it as a breeze coming through the windows, and there is a bit of breeze in there. But these are like proper thick, heavy duty, like proper, almost like theatre curtains. Mm-hmm. They're like that, like big, heavy drapes.
Swing and swing
and they would, swing. Move.
And we tried the candle, but for some reason this breeze started up, so they can. But we're going to keep trying. It's the first time we tried them. We didn't work the first time, but we just keep going and going.
We'll just try to think outside the box. We'll try to step away technology a wee bit and see what kind of response.
See what works, see what doesn't work. You can only give it a go, can't you?
It's the same now. Like I've tried changing the way I call out. Like before, when I used to call out, now I've tried changing. I've tried to do the whole tact of introducing myself and being proper, gentle and kind. And I've tried doing it that way to see if anything happens. And I haven't provoked since. I've just tried keeping with that to see if it works. And in some places, it has.
Well, that is trial and error. There's that many different ways you can try. I mean, I think we obviously 2021, so people are relying heavily on technology, and maybe some of them are forgetting how it used to be done before a REM pod was invented or whatever meter was invented. So that's what we're trying to do in the next few experiments to try and get back to basics, and because you can debunk a REM pod. But you can't debunk a compass.
No.
If it moves.
We're going to try and think of creative ways to kind of introduce toys a lot more as well. Because we seem to communicate, especially at Caldwell, we seem to communicate with a wee boy. So we're going to try and introduce toys of some description to try and see if that will maybe
coax somebody to come through. But it's trial and error. And that's half fun. Trying something different. If it works, fine. If it doesn't work, then we move on.
Something doesn't make a difference, so.
Exactly. So we'll call it a night there, folks, because you're on holiday and you've taken up enough time. I see we'll call it a night. I'm going to hang on to you just for a wee minute after we come off. But if you want to plug season 4 again, fire in, carry on. When's it out?
5th of October.
Yeah.
You don't want to miss it. The team are on a completely different journey this time. It's Project Invocation, and that is behind it is to try and invoke our fear to see if fear does have an effect on paranormal, or is it all imagination that can run away with us in certain aspects.
And also, you'll see Charlie on
Paranormal Captured. That's only featured though, mate. We don't need to go into that at the moment. The Haunted Hunts is the main focus.
the Haunted Hunts is the main puppy, as they say. That's the big kahuna. I mean,
you know, like the Paranormal Captured is, you know, it's a great show, and I'm very grateful for Dan for, you know, getting us the opportunity to, you know, have an interview with the guys and, you know, go through that, which you'll see my experience that I've had on there, and it's been great to be involved in such a good show. But my heart is always with the Haunted Hunts. Do you know what I mean? So.
Well, that's it. These are a genuine team. These are down to earth. These are all great, you know, guys and girls, and you know, I've known you for a wee while, and yous are always approachable, and you know.
Put it this way, I don't like paranormal shows, but I'll happily sit and watch the Haunted Hunts.
I
don't like watching paranormal shows. I get really bored easily. Even rewatching even on an investigation, I get really bored.
You get bored driving to the investigation.
True.
I mean, you start. But we'll call it a night there, folks. But if anybody's no watch the Haunted Hunts, give them a watch. Definitely top form. We've got them all on coming at the start of November. The date's still to be confirmed, but we definitely have. We've got used to back, and we've got your other collaborators back as well. So thanks so much for coming in, folks.
No worries. And thanks to everybody who's been watching.
And thanks for everybody's comments and thoughts. They're all very much appreciated. Just a wee plug before we go. Today we finally hit our 1,500 likes.
Yeah.
So a big thank you to everybody that's liked us and followed us. We love you all, don't we?
Yes.
If you put your phone down. I just grasped you.
That's my message.
That's fine. So take care. We're back on Friday. Thursday or Friday with Maya Herman, who's Patty Negri's tour manager. She's coming in. That'll be good. Thanks to Charlie and Rox. You'll be seeing them again next month on TV and then on here in November.
Yep.
November. Take care for now, everybody, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye. Bye.